Okay, hello and good afternoon. I don't know if there is anyone who has joined us yet, but please, if you are, please be sure to um, just send a quick hello and good afternoon in the chat. My name is Aaron John, and I will be leading you all through what plants to look out for while in the Bahamas and native plants. Hello, Joanne Gibbs. Thank you for joining. You can also feel free to add whatever plants you want to look out or you want to learn about or expect to learn about in today's presentation. You can just drop that in the chat as well. Once again, welcome. Welcome to the ALIV series on Watch Out. And in this series, I will be covering numerous beneficial plants, beneficial native plants in the Bahamas, and also native plants that we like to look out for. And my name is Aaron John, and I'm an education officer here at the Bahamas National Trust. And I'll be starting um, at 6:30. So I'm just gonna wait until everyone joins, and then I'll start promptly at 6:30. For those just joining, like I told the other ones who were just waiting in the lobby, you can feel free to add whatever plants you are looking forward to learning about or expect to learn about in today's presentation, or you can just send a wave and say hello. I'd appreciate it either way. I'm just waiting for 6:30. Well, I'll start. So we see a U Macintosh. Hey Macintosh, thanks for joining. Amy and Pierre, hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. We got Loretta Boodle, Harriet. Thank you for joining and saying hello. I hope you all stick and stay to see the end of the plants that I'll be covering this evening. We got Anne Marie Miller. Hello and welcome. Awesome. Thank you. And once again, my name is Aaron John, and I will start the presentation. And it is called Watch Out. That is the theme for today's presentation. And in this presentation, I will be covering native plants, beneficial native plants, some of which you might know, some of which you might just find out and start learning about, and also plants, native Bahamian plants that we like to avoid. I will give a brief description, where they're located, and then a few of their uses. Okay, first off the agenda, I'm going to introduce myself. And after introducing myself, I'm going to give a little icebreaker just because I like icebreakers, get everyone interacted. Um, I'm just used to typing in the chat as well. And from there, I will then go into identifying the beneficial native plants and then also identifying native plants that we'd like to avoid once again. Okay? So, straight into the icebreaker. Um, First off, I would like to know if anyone knows of any medicinal plants, and if so, what are their uses? So, any bush medicine or any medicinal plants that are beneficial to your health that you would have been taught either growing up or you would have recently learned about, feel free to drop them in the chat. And if you know what their uses are or what they're used for, please also feel free to follow up the plant with its use. Okay, I see some answers coming in from Macintosh, Macintosh, aloe, which is good for hair treatment. I like that one, even though I don't have too much hair myself. We got Loretta Boodle, Harriet with fever grass. That's a crowd favorite. um, Anyone else? Oh, hibiscus, hibiscus, hibiscus. Just so you know, hibiscus is my favorite flower, hands down. Love the tea. Um, I just love hibiscus. Thanks, Tony. Um, Also, a fun fact about fever grass. Fever grass is the main flavoring for, guess what? It's a common cereal. You'll never guessed it. Fruit Loops. Yes, Fruit Loops. If you think about it, you taste or you eat a bowl of Fruit Loops and then you taste fever grass, startling resemblance. We got Soursop by Anne Marie Miller to fix high blood pressure. We have Spanish thyme again from Loretta Boodle Harriet. We got Five Finger. We got hibiscus, which from Tony, which is good for cold. We got sorosy, and then Loretta Boodle says, "Wow, yes, never would have known." Sorosy, sorosy. Oh, I have a history of sorosy, so saying sorosy brings a bad taste to my mouth, if you know what I mean. Okay, I'd like to thank everyone for dropping the plants in the chat. But now I'm going to introduce myself and just talk a bit about myself and a bit about me. First off, my name is Aaron John. I am a college graduate. I would have lived in junior and like from primary, junior to um, senior. I would have lived most of my years on a farm. Yes, and that would have been right here in Nassau. So a little under a decade, I lived on a farm, and from living on a farm, it made me very passionate about plants and gardening and everything in between because my granddad was a farmer. So before I head out to school, I'd see him bright and early working on the farm or coming out of his house. And that really encouraged me to um, get into farming. Macintosh, Aaron, Aaron. So Aaron John as opposed to Aaron John. And after graduating high school, I would have went to BAMSI, straight out of government high, straight out of school. I went straight to BAMSI, and that's where I would have gotten or received my degree in agriculture science, and that really pushed me um, along in terms of knowing what I wanted to do. And from there, I ended up going into the environmental field where I did work as an environmental educator in Andros for little more than 2 years. And I would have really uh, developed my passion for the environment. And from there, I would have then moved and worked with the Bahamas National Trust through their EcoCamp program, which is where they um, gather students all from all across the Bahamas and they take them to a select island. and that island was Andros. And I would have worked with the BNT in hosting and facilitating that eco camp. And I would have done that twice because it's a yearly thing. And from there, I decided that BNT is a great organization for me to expand my passion for the environment, and it also combined my love for plants and conservation. So here I am. I applied, and now I am an education officer with a focus on outreach. And that's me. Now, just talk a bit about the Bahamas National Trust, or the BNT as some people call it. First off, we are a nonprofit membership organization that relies on gifts and grants, as well as a small dispensation from the government to conserve and protect the Bahamian natural environment. Uh, so, to wrap it up, we are the caretakers, the protectors, and the voice of the Bahamas' most precious natural resource, and that is its unique and diverse national park system. So, just to give you a brief overview of the national park system and how much we actually uh, oversee, we manage 32 national parks throughout the Bahamas, and that totals to 2.2 million acres that is protected and secured. And annually, we touch and affect positively 20,000 youths annually through our programming. And there are 90 dedicated Bahamians who work for the BNT. With 8 family islands, we have BNT offices and visitor center. And I think with that introduction, I can move straight on into the beneficial plants. So, right before I start or continue, can anyone recognize any of these 3 plants? There's 3 plants here in the slide. There's 3 plants. Can anyone identify them and put them in the chat before I start? Because I will identify them. I just want to test your knowledge. 3 plants, common, found throughout the Bahamas, also known as the Bahamian Archipelago or the Lucayan Archipelago. You might have seen it growing up. You might have seen it on the road or on the side of the highway. Okay, I got 5 finger from you Macintosh. Anyone else? Because 5 finger isn't the only plant there. I'm pretty sure we can get another guess. I just don't wanna come straight up and say whether you're right. But you are. Yes, 5 finger is one of the plants there. Okay, no one else has added anything? Okay, so there are 3 plants there. And I'm gonna start with 5 finger. 5 finger. So this plant, first off, can be found throughout the Bahamian Archipelago, and it is also called by some chickenfoot. And it grows as a shrub to medium-sized tree that can go up to about 30, 40, and even 50 feet or 10 meters. Um, and once the trees get large enough, you tend to get real big furrows or cracks in the bark. And the key identifying feature for this plant is, guess what? Its leaves, 5 fingers. And it is a compound leaf where each finger, if I can call them, or leaflet, um, totals usually to 5, 6, or even sometimes 7, but it averages 5 fingers. Um, and the flowers, it produces flowers when it's in season, and it also produces a seed pod, the seeds of which are thin and have a papery flesh that dries that allows it to float relatively easy on the wind. And the colors of the flowers tend to range between white to pink to lavender to even purple and yellow, depending on the variety, because I have seen yellow yellow five fingers, and that was very interesting. Um, it is found through the Bahamas. It's usually found um, within the pine forests or even dry broadleaf evergreen formations. You find them in the shrub woodlands and also the coppice forests. And you tend to see them mostly um, in these two environments, but they tend to grow differently. In the coppice forest, they'd grow really tall, and the trunk gets really thick, so a thicker trunk in diameter. And the pine forests, you tend to see them really low, like you usually don't see them more than 7, 8, sometimes even 10 feet. But in the coppice forest, where they don't have to compete with the pine forest or even um, forest fires, they can easily go up to 40 plus feet. And it's distributed throughout the Lucayan Archipelago, which is the Bahamian Islands, as well as Cuba and South Florida. Now, what it has been used for, and it has been used for a number of bush medicine remedies, and that includes strengthening teas for backaches and pains. It has also been used in aphrodisiac teas for gas, for bloating, for use in the horticultural trade because of the beauty of its flowers. Okay, and I personally have one in my yard, so I tend to make a tea out of it. And this is a bit more uh, pictures. You can see the color of the flower is different in this slide. And I don't know if that tree rings a bell, like I would have said. It's pretty common, and you, Macintosh, would have said that it was seen, thankfully. Now that's five finger, and the main use of five finger is for teas. Now on to white sage. Yes, five finger with love vine. It's a beautiful tea. Or even what is pear leaf tea, avocado leaf tea. Those three right there, that's a combination. Trust me. You drink that without any milk. Some people want like milk in their teas. It helps, but sometimes you can do without milk. But it's really good. That can knock your socks off, if I can say. Okay, a bit about white sage. White sage is um, mainly known as like a herbal plant, and it's also a shrub. So it doesn't grow very tall. It usually goes up to 3 meters, which is up to like 10 to 12 feet. And it has white flowers. It's really low. I know farmers tend to steer their sheep and their goats away from this plant whenever it's in the field, just because of the chemicals that's within it. When consumed by goats or small ruminants, which is animals that have four stomachs, which is goats and sheep, and even cows, it turns poisonous or toxic. So, in the breaking down of the plant, it produces poison for those animals. Okay, but it is very aromatic. Um, it the leaves are slightly ovate, and the flowers can also be or tend to be a pinkish to purple color. And the fruits, they're green when they're immature, and then they turn a purplish pink at maturity. And these plants, this white sage, also known as lantana, can be found throughout the Bahamas, but specifically in areas where, usually like where land would have been cleared or humans would have altered the environment in some way, which is usually land clearing, okay, or weeding that allows those seeds a chance to get to the topsoil and then they germinate really quickly. Aside from being located in the Lucayan archipelago, they have been found um, in Central and South America and throughout the Caribbean and even Florida. And this white sage have been found within the coppice forest and bordering the pine forest as well. Now, what is white sage good for? So, its primary reason is it being boiled or, yeah, boiled and then bathed in. So, you take the entire plant and you put it in hot water and you bathe in that. What for, you may ask? To treat dermatological issues, meaning chicken pox, skin irritations, um, itching, stings. Uh, I've also known persons to make like a poultice or a paste out of it. So they take the leaves, mash it up between the two fingers, and apply it to bee stings, wasp stings, mosquito bites, and that just takes the itching away and helps with the pain. Aside from that, it has also been used to treat uh, high blood pressure as well. Now on to Gumbo Limbo, also known as the burnt tourist tree. Has anyone seen this? Anyone seen the Gumbo Limbo tree? And not everyone might know it by Gumbo Limbo. That's the thing. It has many names. It's called the Gum Ilamai. It's also called the Kamalami tree, um, the burnt tourist tree, and some people even call it the snake tree. I'm not exactly sure why. I think it was that snakes are always found in this tree or something like that. But the key defining traits of this tree is that just like the love vine, sorry, not love vine, five finger, it has been used when making strengthening teas. Uh, the gumbo limbo, in conjunction with five finger and other teas, have been used in the making of aphrodisiac teas, one of which is known as the 21 gun salute. And the bark of the tree uh, is often reddish orange and peeling, as you can see in this picture right here. And that is the defining trait. Okay, the bark itself is slightly glossy, and if you tap the tree, it makes a hollow yet full sound. So when you tap it, it feels full, but it sounds hollow. And the bark and the sap from this tree have been used to treat skin irritations, blisters, and even poisonwood, which is another native plant. And that is done by peeling the bark of the of the gumbo limbo and then putting it on the affected area. I see Anne Marie D. Miller says snakes cannot stay in them. It's difficult for them to slither on the calamine. Okay, yes. I can see why that happened. Maybe that's why they call it the snake tree. Anyway, I'm learning as y'all are learning. Okay, thanks, Anne Marie. Okay, those are the three beneficial plants. The three other, the three other, the plants that I'm going to now speak on is you should avoid at all costs. And I mean, so I put a cactus up here just because these these plants are extremely detrimental to your health, and if handled incorrectly or contact with them, you can be harmed. I put a cactus there just because it's not that obvious. It's not an obvious danger. When you look at a cactus tree, you are automatically aware of the spines and how it can affect you. These trees, if you are clueless, seem so harmless. Okay, I think I should stop talking and just go into these plants. Poisonwood. Does anyone know poisonwood? If you go up on the island or even did a bit of camping or even go crabbing or go through the pine forest or even the coppice forest at any time, we call the bush, I'm pretty sure you would have come in contact with poisonwood or have at least seen this poisonwood tree. So first off, poisonwood is easily identified by looking at the bark. The bark tends to have orange, flaky um, pieces that come off in massive flakes. And that black that you see on the bark itself is caused by an oil, also known as urushiol, that comes out of the bark, I mean, of the trunk or any part of the leaf once it would have been damaged. And on contact with the air, it comes black. Anne Marie, is that also called poison ivy? It's also called the poison tree. Poison ivy is related to the poison wood tree. Okay, so this is not poison ivy, but it's a close relative to poison ivy. So some persons, so it's said that if you are allergic or react adversely or are sensitive to poison ivy, it would be the same thing with poison wood. Okay, and the leaves have a midrib or vein that goes straight through, and there's usually 5 leaves on it. So, bipinnately compound is what we call them. The leaves are compound and they have 5 to 7 leaflets. The leaves also are glossy, very, very glossy, and they produce these beautiful inflorescence or flowers. And from there, they transition into fruits, as you can see in the picture. They are inedible to us, toxic to humans, found throughout the Bahamas, throughout Florida, in our coppice forest, in our pine forest, and shrub woodlands. But yet, the birds, such as the white crowned pigeon, often eat the leaves. I mean, sorry, not the leaves, eat the fruit. And in eating the fruit, it aids them in producing a white, milky sap that they feed their young with. Okay? Now, believe it or not, some people or persons would have attempted to use this plant um, in bush medicine or for whatever purposes. Uh, but the thing is, it is known for causing medical problems rather than solving them. And the skin, I mean, the oils produced can cause that blistering and that irritation that I would have spoken of which Gumbo Limbo can fix. It also, unfortunately, have been used as an abortifacient, meaning used to abort uh, infants or abort a baby in the womb. So they would drink it with bleach, but unfortunately, that practice usually led to the death of the person taking it, you know, and that's just how dangerous this plant is. I've also known persons who would have burned the poison wood tree and the smoke would have negatively affected them. Touching the leaves and not washing your hands afterwards can also cause that exact same irritation that we've spoken about. Now, to the manchineel. So the manchineel is a very poisonous plant. It first off, it grows up to 20 meters, which is like 70 to 80 feet, and the trunk can be up to 50 centimeters. It's found throughout the Lucayan archipelago, and not as common as poisonwood, but it's also found uh, in the Caribbean and throughout parts of the Caribbean. And this tree is so toxic. If you stand under it when it's raining, using the tree for shelter, you will get severe blistering just because of the toxins that would have been um, collected in the rainwater from the leaves as the water dripped off of the plant. Okay, so under no circumstances are you to sit under this tree. The fruit themselves and the leaves, when broken or damaged, produces milky sap. It's the same thing for the sap. Every single part of this tree is toxic. I mean, dangerously toxic. It is known as the most poisonous tree in the world. Okay, and it's found in Florida, it's found in the Caribbean, it's found in the Bahamas. And whenever it is found, it's usually placed with a red band around it so people would know not to go near it. And you may say, oh, why they just shouldn't cut it all down? Any contact with the tree can cause this irritation, the blistering, the burning. Eating the fruit, tasting the fruit, touching the bark. It is extremely, extremely toxic. I cannot stress that enough. So you say, yeah, cut it down. Let's say by some miracle you get it cut down. And then you proceed to burn it. You cannot burn it because when you burn it, the toxins are then in the smoke and they can cause blindness, both temporary and permanent blindness, if it goes in your eyes. And also, it can cause respiratory issues if you inhale it. Okay? So, to sum it all up, Christopher Columbus, when he first arrived here, he called it the Manzanita de la Muerte, you know, and that's called the little apple of death. And that is a good way of saying it. Persons have died from eating it, from eating the fruit, which they said tasted just like apples, slightly sweet, slightly tangy, and then from there it went into blistering and the swelling of the throat, and the nasal passages, also causing burns, you know. And believe it or not, it also holds the Guinness record for the world's most dangerous tree. Okay, and how you identify it? You can identify it first off by its oval shape, and the oval goes down to the tip of the leaf where it tapers off into a tip. So the apex tapers into a tip, and from there, the leaves also point slightly upward. They're also alternately arranged, meaning they're not opposite each other on the leaf stem, and in this photo you can see the red band that I would have mentioned. So if you see this plant anywhere, please don't go near it. If it's raining and you see this tree, it's best you do not go under it for shade. It's best you, believe it or not, stick it out in the rain or find shelter elsewhere, just because it can very well cost you your life. And these symptoms aren't like, oh, a day later. These symptoms are half an hour later. These symptoms can occur. Much quicker if you ingest it, so the eating of the food. Okay? And that brings me to the end of this evening's presentation. Does anyone have any questions? I knew I would have went fairly quickly, but it's just so much to cover. And this is what? 3 plants that can benefit you, or 3 beneficial medicinal plants, and 2 native plants that you'd want to avoid. Okay? If I had my way, my way. There's so many plants, and I can't state that enough. There's so many plants that we have in the Bahamas that we do not know enough of, and that's why we should go into more discussions and we need more scientific research, and even collaborations. And that's why I am thankful, along with my organization, the Bahamas National Trust, for the ALIV, for working with us, for putting on this presentation, just to inform you, the Bahamian public, about our natural resources and how we can make the best of them while protecting ourselves. So thank you once again for joining. Anne-Marie D. Miller, where are these trees mostly found here? So they are found throughout the Bahamas. I would have mentioned that, but it's not super common. Like how you can go to a family island, walk to any coppice forest or any pine forest and see poisonwood. It is not that common. Okay. Even though it's found within the central to northern Bahamas and even parts of the southern Bahamas. Betty Ramsey, I missed it from the beginning. Oh, I'm sorry. But you can replay the video once I'm done. Okay? So you can go back and you can watch. You can even show some chat, uh, share in the chat. Thank you, Anne Marie. Thank you, Janisha. Thank you, Betty. I would like to thank you once again and have a good day.